Hello and welcome. We are live on Facebook at Vegan World 2026, hosted by Climate Healers and yours truly. Thank you so much for showing up. And we have got Kelly Kerr here, and she'll be talking about vegan coaching as a service to humanity. Thank you so much, Kelly, for showing up. Welcome to Climate Healers.
Thanks, Summer. So thanks everyone for joining. My name is Kelly Kerr, and I am a food activist, food futurist, and caterer based in Toronto, Canada. Some of you might know me by my Facebook persona, the VeganAbler, but depending on whether our paths crossed in the virtual or real world, the word might mean something different. I'll explain these perspectives, but by the end of the presentation, I promise that it will mean something yet again entirely different. I'd like to begin by telling you my story. I used to hate cooking. I'm not a second-wave feminist, but I hated the 50s model of housewife enough to feel trapped in the kitchen. Even when I was a work-at-home mom, I'd rather work overtime than develop my culinary skills beyond the standard Canadian diet. But almost 7 years ago, it was the Why Love One But Eat the Other Subway poster campaign that awakened me to the fact that I was only comfortable with my lifestyle because the horrors were hidden. Motherhood was important to me, and to hear that mother pigs sing to their young stuck in my mind and changed the course of my life. I even got a tattoo of pigs to remind myself of what's most important to me. I'd been a vegetarian earlier on in my life and immediately felt the guilt of not staying true to my values, which at the time I thought was good enough. So I went vegan, then my kitchen went vegan, then my husband went vegan, then my kids went vegan. You might be asking, wait, how can a room of the house go vegan before the people who live in it? Many of you listening know exactly how that works. The person who shops and makes the food may cater to other palates and lifestyles for a while. Why would that change? Compassion, which comes passion. Once you see what's going on in the world, you can't stop seeing it. I became an activist fairly quickly into my vegan journey. Bearing witness can't save the animals in front of you, but it makes you stronger for the animals in the future. Food is full of meaning. And cultures identify with food, the activities that we do, celebrations. And a lot of people resist being vegan or dismiss the vegan movement because the meaning of food is so deep in people's culture. Food does have a deep meaning, but if you can adapt your ingredients or tweak the culture, vegan food has so much deeper meaning. It's food you can taste twice, once in your mouth and then again in your heart.
That's true.
Because of what it is and what it is not. And activists haven't lost the deep meaning of food. After an action, we would all go out and support a local vegan restaurant. And I discovered that animal rights activism takes on an extra dimension of meaning when vegan food is involved. And 10 out of 10 dogs agree. Actually, if it were not for Mr. Bean, my family and I might not now be vegan. Mr. Bean pulled Anita, who is the co-founder of the Save movement, towards a pig truck during one of their walks. And they both bore witness for the first time over 10 years ago now. And they were the ones that did the Why Love One and Eat the Other poster campaign that turned me vegan. So several times each summer, the Save movement would host all-day vigils with a much higher attendance. And not least because there was always free breakfast, lunches, and dinners served. And I started to help feeding the activists snacks and refreshments at the events, setting up a folding table across the entranceway to the slaughterhouses. And when activists saw the food, it would brighten their day. It re-energized them, gave them a break from the intensity of the day, and it built a community. And at times there was so much food that we offered it to the truck drivers who were waiting while activists bear witness, and to people in the cars that were blocked in traffic until we were done, and to the slaughterhouse workers during their lunch breaks if they were willing to try it. And here's a security guard trying some free vegan handouts during one of our climate vegan protests in front of our local government building. But all of this was a hobby to me outside of the hours of my corporate day job. One made money and the other made meaning. I'd been a manager at eBay for 9 years when my role suddenly became redundant. And the next logical step would have been to continue my career at a new corporation, but I couldn't do it. And I fell into a depression. Feeding activists made me happy, but how could I make a living at it? I decided to try to pivot my career by enrolling in a one-year vegetarian culinary arts program at George Brown College in Toronto and graduated in 2017. For years, I'd been involved with vegan activists that were all about one-to-one outreach, hoping to convince people to go vegan. But what happens when they are successful and people want to go vegan, but don't know how? These are some of my dear friends in Toronto. And I actually was trained to do this door-to-door vegan outreach, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. But they have lots of stories to tell. But a revolution that requires a complete overhaul of an entire economic sector, in this case, our food system, is bound to benefit from efforts to change palates as much as minds. There are a few activist chefs that I admire, like Lauren Toyota of Hot for Food and the gentle chef Sky Michael Conroy, and some entrepreneurs whose vegan products were intentional game changers, aiming not only to shift markets towards plant-based offerings, but to make the average grocery store a more vegan-friendly place. While some activists help people align their habits to their ethics, many others are making the world itself more veg-friendly, and I found myself falling into the latter. I met many new or aspiring vegans each time I sold baked goods at pop-ups, and I liked it when people came to me for mentorship. So I registered on social media as the VeganAbler. My intention was to be an enabler, that is, as a lifestyle coach to new vegans and the veg curious. But I knew I had to keep catering and selling homemade products to at least keep a little cash flow. A plant-based company hired me to be a brand ambassador to represent several of their products. I continue to find this type of outreach extremely satisfying, because there's food involved and people always like getting free food, and people are coming to you and they're asking you the questions. I find that the conversations were a little bit more open in that respect. In addition to the Safe Movement vigils, I catered some of their bigger events. And then I started getting catering gigs for various animal advocacy and environmental organizations like Sea Shepherd, Drawdown Toronto, the Orangutan Project, Anonymous for the Voiceless, Dogs for Asia, One Tree Planted, and Mercy for Animals. Here's some of my stuff from Anonymous for the Voiceless. And knowing that we wanted to emphasize the carbon footprint of vegan food, we started bringing refreshments to multiple screening of the Toronto Climate Film Festival. The organizer of the festival, Climate Fast, named thus because they had fasted on the government's doorstep for climate action, were greatly amused by our guerrilla catering and appreciative as they were on a minimal budget. But mounting financial pressures forced me to resume my corporate career, but I kept the VeganAbler brand in business, selectively catering for causes I found meaningful. And here is catering for an end of year celebration for a friend's music group. Nobody in the choir was vegan except for him, but they let him plan it. So I catered for the 2 years that he did that with my non-vegan mom. But COVID hit and my contract was terminated. The lockdowns were not a good time for catering or activism, but they were a good time to examine how quickly the world can and did change and anticipate whether turbulent crises weren't going to inspire creative solutions. The fragility of the meat industry was particularly noticeable, and Climate Healer's vision of rapid systemic change seemed possible, for better or worse. The food healers met weekly, sketching out mental blueprints of an entirely new approach to feeding communities. What did I have now but a cook-from-home food delivery service with seasonal success? My husband and I returned to a concept which we had casually launched very early in our activism. The idea was that there were specific ingredients, recipes, and food knowledge that has helped every new vegan come to terms with their new devotion. Quite often, they were shockingly simple. For example, Sailesh found it easy to go vegan after learning how to make soy yogurt. And I fell in love with nooch. My catering clients go nuts for my tofu quiche, and it gets its eggy smell from Kalanamic salt that I buy for $1 from the Middle Eastern store at the end of the street. We were sure there were many more vegan life hacks out there and that we ought to crowdsource a place where they can be shared. We created a Facebook group and a logo, and arguably the worst business model ever made. Never buy this product again. The objective, sell a homemade product with the goal of no repeat customers. Why? Because the package not only has the ingredients, but the directions to make it. These could be crowdsourced recipes, all the better if there's a story to go about how discovering a dish or ingredient made the vegan transition easier. Recipe cards could be shared on the Facebook page and printed out to distribute anywhere the activists were doing outreach. Our vision was that one or more activists could whip up a large batch of vegan mayonnaise or sunflower seed salmon pate at a table at a farmer's market or a pop-up. No matter when it runs out, the customer could just make more from the recipe on the jar label. And all recipes will be readily available on the website and shared freely on social media. And while we did give out hundreds of sampler jars of Kalanamic and packs of eggless egg salad to onlookers at the annual Toronto Veggie Parade, the Facebook page for Never Buy This Product Again has largely languished, slowly gaining an accidental following of just under 200 people. But encouraged by Vegan World 2026's Normalizing Vegan Food Study Group, and then by Sailesh's vision of an open source future where food healers will empower communities to eat together, We want to surrender both the VeganAbler and Never Buy This Product Again to the public domain and build a supportive community of food activists. Every major city has a community and somebody is feeding them, whether it's a regular caterer or a food skilled activist. Some activists will gravitate part or all of their time towards normalizing vegan food. We want to network everyone into this open source vision. For me, it is time to come full circle and take back the kitchen and make it the headquarters for the vegan revolution. I am satisfied from going from the VeganAbler to a VeganAbler. I don't have any life coach training or nutritional credentials, but I've held positions as a productivity coach and community manager for large .coms. My goal will be to shape the VeganAbler into a multifaceted initiative to normalize vegan food and make it easier for people to see themselves going vegan while building resilient communities to face any food crisis that might come from various factors such as pandemics and obviously from climate change. Veganism's become mainstream. We have this type of normalizing vegan food going on, and it's needed. But in addition to not wanting to encourage this type of diet as a go-to diet of choice, it's still not accessible and affordable to millions of people. So while it's a good start at opening people's eyes to plant-based foods, we do need to have plant-based foods become normal. We need a different type of shift. This isn't going to feed the world. And we want to make sure our message around the urgency of shifting away from animal products doesn't get confused with plant-based food being the newest trend. And the shift is happening, as you can see on the graphs. It's extremely encouraging to see the trend for plant-based foods growing, but we can't afford to wait until 2050 for this shift to happen into the favor of plant-based proteins over animal proteins. So VeganAblers will accelerate it. To quote an article from the World Economic Forum, consumer consciousness on resource-intensive animal protein has been identified as a significant lever for reducing our climate footprint. However, this must go hand in hand with a food system designed to deliver on sustainable, affordable, nutritious protein for the growing population. It is the goal for VeganAblers to accelerate this because we don't have time for trends or fads. And more importantly, with a growing number of people facing food insecurity, the focus cannot be simply on getting people to buy commercial products. So what are the VeganAbler objectives? First is to establish a global network of amateur life coaches. And what do I mean by amateur? By that, I mean people who are passionate and committed to helping people transition to a vegan lifestyle, but don't necessarily have the educational background associated with a traditional role of a coach. While also maintaining a network of these professional lifestyle and nutritional coaches. So I see it as having people who want to participate, have a lot of experience, and then the people who have the professional background as well. We need everyone and anybody. We want to empower vegan outreach organizations with coaching support for outreach follow-up. For example, Mercy for Animals. They have people writing to them probably saying, I really don't want to eat animals anymore, and I really don't know how to go about being vegan. We would be the support structure and the coaching support for those types of organizations. So promote vegan coaching to environmental and animal welfare organization members. Coordinate teams to develop coaching resources, education on website, recipes, food demos, support food healers campaigns in participating cities and promote in other cities, and seek partners and resources. And deploy grassroots activist campaigns to normalize vegan food and work with other organizations to achieve this goal. So organizations such as Vegan Option Canada, promoting the PCRM's universal meal by doing like a chef challenge amongst the plant-based food industry. There's going to be a wonderful speaker today, Veg Student Alliance. So educating our children to find passion in making vegan food and doing food activism. Build resilience amongst communities with the understanding of imminent climate disruption and rapid change of food system. Promote amongst like-minded organizations a solidarity against a dying system that uses animals, and support climate healers initiatives by deploying reputation currencies, solving SDG 2, eliminating SDG 8, and just basic education. But I think building resilience among communities is one of the most important objectives. What are the steps to the VeganAbler initiative? Immediately, it's creating a weekly Zoom discussion group to brainstorm projects, draft a campaign proposal for funding, and enhance brand awareness through website and social media. I have pages and followers. I think I'm over 1,000 now, but building up that brand awareness and getting people involved. And longer term is develop a baseline of VeganAbler certification and an orientation team. It's not like there's going to be a specific VeganAbler certification. It's more so that if you become a coach, that there's going to be sort of basic certification so that the messaging is consistent. engage with animal rights and vegan outreach chapters, and invite food-oriented members into networks to be certified as coaches. And that's certainly one quick way to build up the coaching roster. And collaborate with animal rights and vegan outreach organizations for mutual gain, and possibly even an app for people to find their local VeganAbler. And some of the tactics to achieving our goals: delight and be inspired. We want to show the world that living a vegan lifestyle is a pleasure, and showing off delicious vegan food with a smile on your face will normalize the movement and make people less resistant. Be everywhere, on the street when it's obviously safe to do so again, farmers markets, pop-up shops. If you repeat things over and over, people will listen. But if they see us as a regular constant at these events, these markets, driving around the city in our logo trucks delivering meals, people will no longer be able to ignore that veganism is here to stay. Plan for the future that we want, while understanding that we still need to work within the constraints of our current system. Work with farmers and stores to eliminate food waste by turning plant-based foods into opportunities to feed people, such as possibly making products for Never Buy This Product Again, or working with food healers, feeding communities in need, and scaled to wherever it's needed. And using the food healers model, working with churches and community centers to prepare and deliver healthy plant-based meals to their food insecure communities. And an ingredients initiative, showing VeganAblers how to purchase food in bulk quantities and as cheaply as possible to feed as many people as possible. Really, we just want to test out these tactics and see what works and what does not, and learn from it. But we need to make sure that we fail fast and fail forward, because we have 5 years left to get this right. So coming around full circle, this is the image on my business card, and it says, "I'd like to go vegan, but the but is crossed out." And this is essentially the spirit of the VeganAbler. We all have different paths to being vegan, and it's our job as VeganAblers to eliminate all those perceived reasons why someone cannot make the transition. There's flexibility with this project and what the VeganAbler can become, and I believe there'll just be sort of a natural synergy with other organizations that will occur once the brainstorming starts. So let's start the next phase of the food revolution and deliver a green new meal. The term I heard for the first time yesterday, and I love it. So thank you. And I want to thank Sailesh for his tireless work towards creating a vegan world. He's inspired me so much, and I love him. So thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen to my story and my vision for the VeganAbler. And I'd love to hear your thoughts or answer any questions that you might have.
Hi, I saw that I've already liked your Facebook page. I actually didn't know you were doing all this, because we have to talk. I'm trying really hard in Baltimore, and I feel like sometimes a lone ranger, and we got to get together. We got to make this happen.
I just found your page too the other day, which is so ironic. I said to Ray, "What is botanic cuisine?" And then I saw what you're doing. I'm like, "My God, this is amazing." And that's the thing that I'm trying to achieve with the VeganAbler, is like, everyone, I feel, works in silos, and we need to come together. And I want to try to figure out how we can bring that together. And I think food just makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I think this is a radically different approach that a lot of activists who have a passion for animals and have been involved with whatever movements that they are exposed to, they may take a shine to this idea of it's not face-to-face outreach. It's not about your ethics, engaging people in this uncomfortable space and telling them that, you really love animals and you seem to be a hypocrite. It's always a hard sell, where as opposed to coming to people, like she mentioned at the beginning, that she's a futurist. We're talking about this future that Sailesh has presented. So if we take that as an approach, we don't need to say go vegan. This can be activism where you don't say go vegan. We say the world's going vegan. How does that make you feel, first of all, as a person that consumes meat? And now it's almost a bet. We're having this bet that we're going to have a vegan world in 2026. You don't need to believe it. You just need to hear the reasons, and they start to make sense. Like, once the car came along, it was the end of the horse and buggy industry. And I think that our meat industry has passed that moment of obsolescence. It probably passed it in the 70s, really, honestly. We're just starting to understand that it's become so obsolete. It's just a problem in every dimension.
The only way that the horse carriage industry ended was because cars were invented. No amount of animal rights would have ended it without the alternative. So that's why what we're doing with VeganAblers and all the work that we're doing, this is bringing forth the alternative. Also, whenever anything goes mainstream, it takes on a life of its own. So we're seeing that happening in some places with veganism. And I think there's a lot of people getting frustrated by that, because you'll see conversations online that says, I'm going vegan and I'm having trouble with cheese. And then all these people come in, well, vegan's not about you, it's about the animals, and meeting them here and then helping pull them along, rather than coming at them like this and going, you're this and do that. It's like, wait a minute, I just wanted to have lunch.
Yeah.
We need to take a step back and realize in this massive culture that massively uses animals, the fact that veganism is even gotten to where it is with food is pretty amazing. Your approach is fabulous.
I went through all the steps as an activist, right? I
Right.
was super hardcore and I'd get angry and I burnt out. And then it wasn't until I was doing the brand ambassador and selling at pop-ups where I just found that neutral space and people come to, they're much more receptive. And also the guerrilla outreach that we call it. We would just show up with food. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And people and that was it. And we just put it down and we wouldn't even say it was vegan. And we just put it on a table and people like, free food. And then, they would
I'd like to point out one of the victims of our guerrilla activism has joined the Zoom. Hi, Karen. Karen is the producer of the movie that we were disrupting, Sea of Life, Climate Change Film Festival. It wasn't vegan. Sea of Life film actually has a very strong vegan message in it. It shows how what you eat really reflects on how much we can save the ocean. We brought vegan refreshments and they went, who hired these people? Nobody. We just have an opportunity to talk to people about why we were there. The organizers loved it because they didn't have a budget for the refreshments. So they said, that's how you do vegan activism. Just feed people.
And we brought like vegan seafood, right? I made like a vegan crab dip. So they were just like, what is this? Right? Watching the Sea of Life, I'm like, it's vegan crab dip. And they're, what? Right? So then you can have an opportunity to tell them what's it made out of. And they do want to identify with you and meet you there, right? People are much more open to that. And I've had so many people from just doing that guerrilla outreach message me and follow me and ask for recipes.
The reason why I was asking, because obviously you weren't there to disrupt Karen's movie, just the Climate Film Festival, because a lot of them were not. Right. I was just clarifying. So thank you, Facebook folks. Thank you, Kelly, for your wonderful presentation, and Ray.